Coming up on this episode of Falmouth in Focus, the Coast Guard upgrades their facilities in Woods Hole. The Woods Hole Public Library gives back to their patrons, and we learn about cold water dangers. All this and much more on this edition of Falmouth in Focus.
Hello and welcome to Falmouth in Focus, FCTV's current affairs program. I'm your host, Michael Kasparian. For some time, there's been discussion of upgrading the Coast Guard facility in Woods Hole, and construction has recently begun, mainly focusing on demolishing older parts of the base and rebuilding them to keep them in line with the modern needs of the service. FCTV spoke with several people involved with the logistics of the construction about the details of those updates.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Junior Grade Kelsey Lyford here at Coast Guard Sector Southeastern New England in Woods Hole, Massachusetts. We're on scene with the future Aids to Navigation Team Woods Hole and Sector Engineering Building. Here will be the building that supports our engineering staff, which offers engineering assistance to more than 35 small boats that are scattered throughout our area of responsibility. Our Aids to Navigation Team Woods Hole is responsible for ensuring the safe location and maintenance on the buoys located throughout the Woods Hole area of responsibility. The first floor of this building will be the wet rooms and shop spaces for both the engineering and Aids to Navigation Team, and the second floor will be our office spaces for the admin staff, as well as admin work of the two teams that will be located here. We've started to outgrow the older building just with the amount of people that we have to support the mission. So the increased size is going to help us out a lot with that.
Hi, I'm Lou Vincegara. I'm a project manager with the U.S. Coast Guard. We're at the site of the Ant Patrol Boat building. So we demolished the engineering building at the site, and we're replacing it with a 13,000 square foot facility. You can see it's a masonry construction, structural masonry. The building is built on piles. It's elevated to the 200-year floodplain. There'll be knockout walls in the case of a flood. So the new building facade will have brick on the first level, and then clapboard, fiber cement siding, and then a standing seam metal roof. We're very careful to design the building to match in with the local architecture. We work closely with the Falmouth Historical Commission during the planning and design stages. And right now the project is tracking for completion in the fall of 2018.
My name is Mike McCarthy. I'm with the Haskell Company, Senior Project Manager, and I'm standing here in front of the station building, which replaces the existing Ant building here at the Coast Guard that was here since 1917. We tore that down, obviously, to put in the new building. We saved part of the cornice work and the stone plaque, the date plaque, and some of the brick. We're going to put a historical interpretive display out by the road so that people can see that historical context, which our new building replaces the existing building.
Here we're on scene with the future building of Station Woods Hole, which is the home to about 50 personnel, and they are the owners of the 3 small boats that are stationed here. The first floor is going to be wet rooms and locker rooms, and the second floor is going to be the berthing area for the crew, and some office spaces as well. The biggest challenge that we faced throughout this construction process has just been the space restrictions placed on the crew here. We've been very fortunate to have such a great teamwork effort by the Coast Guard as well as Haskell, and even our neighbors here have been great as well. And we've been able to come together and overcome, that space restriction that we've had.
Thanks to Andrew Richards for that piece. As the weather turns warmer, people look to head back out on the water, but that doesn't mean that precautions shouldn't still be taken. To better illustrate the dangers that the icy waters surrounding Cape Cod can possess throughout this time of year, FCTV talked with Ensign Nathan Mendez of the United States Coast Guard Sector Southeastern New England, who guided us through demonstrations of what can happen to the body when exposed to cold water temperatures.
Well, the purpose of today's exercise is to demonstrate the effects that cold water can have on the body and how quickly those effects can set in. Today we have a few volunteers dressing out in various ensembles, some with no cold water protection on at all, and they're going to be getting in the water and going to be demonstrating by way of a dexterity test how those effects affect their body and their motor skills.
1. Good luck, guys.
Oh no, we can edit it out, sorry.
Oh! You're okay? Everyone all right?
And the water temp was just above 40 degrees and the air temp was 34, so pretty cold out there. The first guy to come out came out at 12 minutes, and we had one come out as late as 25 minutes. So they were in for quite a bit of time. So we had them thread screws through a number of different size holes, from big screws to small screws. Seemingly simple task, but once your hands and the hypothermia sets in, a simple task such as that can become pretty difficult to do. And having those motor skills are pretty important when you're in a life or death situation on the cold water, whether it's keying up a radio, zipping up a life jacket, or just holding on to an object for protection. This is something we want to keep in the forefront of the public's mind as the temperatures start to rise, the days start to get nicer, and people want to get out on their boat or get out in the water in various capacities. We want them to know that just because the air temperature is warm, those water temps stay cold for an awful long time here in New England, and we want them to know that they need to dress for the water temperature and not the air temperature.
Back in February, on an unseasonably warm day, Arthur Mascufo left with his newly purchased boat, went out to Nantucket Sound. It started taking on water and capsized. He made the prudent decision not to swim for it as his muscles started tightening up. He stayed on top of the boat as long as he could. He wore his life jacket, and probably the thing that saved his life was he left a float plan with a loved one. So when he became overdue, the Coast Guard knew where to find him.
So a few of the things that we want the public to come away from this remembering: have a float plan, give it to a friend or loved one, have a life jacket and be sure to wear it. If you do enter the water by any chance and you're with a group, stay together and always stay with the boat.
The United States Coast Guard wants to emphasize the importance of filing a float plan with a friend or loved one before heading out on the water. There is a downloadable app you can get here to make the process even easier. Thanks to Ensign Mendez and the volunteers from United States Coast Guard Sector Southeastern New England and Station Castle Hill, and to Bob Fenstermaker for that story. Right now, we're going to take a short break to learn about a pair of adoptable dogs from Friends of Falmouth Dogs. And when we come back, we'll head down to Woods Hole again for a festive celebration. Stay with us.
Oscar is a 15-year-old miniature black and tan dachshund, and Autumn is a 12-year-old blonde miniature dachshund mix. The two have been together for a long time and are very bonded. We're looking for one family to adopt them both. Oscar is doing well for a dog his age. Autumn has a narrow trachea that she's dealing with and back pain, which she receives medication for. They need a home where someone will be around most of the time and are house-trained to use puppy pads. The foster family reports that their personalities are fantastic. Both are very sweet, get along with other dogs, and are very easy to have around. The pair was originally from a rescue, and their owner, who had them for many years, recently died. To learn more about Oscar or Autumn, please call Friends of Falmouth Dogs at 508-548-7742, visit friendsoffalmouthdogs.org, or come by the shelter Saturdays between 10 a.m. and noon when they come back from their foster home.
Welcome back. The Woods Hole Public Library recently held a Patron Appreciation Week, which found the library showing their gratitude to the people who keep their doors open, as well as let members of the community know how valuable a resource the library is. In this next segment, we'll speak with Board Trustee Dan Voorhees, who will tell us more about the week-long event.
The Woods Hole Public Library goes back to 1874, when a group of townspeople felt the need for a better way to distribute books throughout the village. They assembled their own libraries, private libraries, and they came up with some money, and they actually created the first library in a house here in Woods Hole. 1913, the leadership then in town decided that they really needed something much more formal and created this building here. Patron Appreciation Week is people on the staff and trustees and friends of the library have donated cookies and good things to eat, nice things to drink, some soup, that kind of stuff. And just have it set up for the people when they come in on a chilly February afternoon and are looking for some refuge. I guess the secret reason behind the Patron Appreciation was, one, is to say thank you to our patrons, but also to communicate to them about our needs, which is that we have a sizable membership, but it really needs to be bigger. Many people have a perception that the Woods Hole Library is actually a part of the Falmouth library system, and as such, it's just a branch, and that is really not the case. We're independent. We have an independent board. We're independently controlled, independently owned, and have this long independent history. The membership is a good way to expand the amount of things that we can do with hours, things we can do with staff, things we can do with programming. Of course, we have a significant summer population, so we'll be doing this in the summer for our summer guests, summer patrons, and then we'll be doing this again next year for our winter patrons. So.
Thanks to Chris McNeil for that piece. As part of Black History Month each year, the science institutions around Woods Hole come together to put on the annual community gathering Harambee, a Kenyan tradition which means all pulled together. Guests were treated to a wide variety of food, such as ribs and collard greens, as well as the percussive stylings of the Cape Cod African Dance and Drum Group. FCTV spoke with some of the organizers of the event about the importance of diversity in our community.
So this year's Black History Month event was about African Americans at war. It's a national theme that we followed this year, and so the 6 partnership organizations here in Woods Hole, including the Northeast Fisheries Science Center, the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, the United States Geological Survey, Marine Biological Laboratory, we have Woods Hole Research Center, and we have Sea Education, all collaborated together, and they actually provide resources to be able to put a Black History Month events together. So this year what we did is we had a panel discussion of 5 veterans from various backgrounds to talk about their experience as African Americans during the Vietnam War.
Oh, the discussion today started off very good with the documentary by Ken Burns. And Ken has done a lot to change the way we teach history in the public school system. He deals with the facts and the conditions that existed at the time that the events occurred, and then he puts a modern spin on where those events have taken us into this 20th century. He's a good person to talk about how do you advance a civilization or a people in a particular country like America, where you have so much diversity. And it's trying to bring all of the various elements of the society together, put it into the public so that people who are in school now, in school in the future, will understand what happened during the period of time that we're living now.
I think that, Black History Month, again, what it is for us, it's it highlights the achievements of African American in our nation, and it's a way for us to kind of reflect back on our history. I think it's important. When we're thinking about the issue of diversity and inclusion, I think this is the type of events that we need to kind of bring to kind of educate the public about the contribution of African Americans, but not only that, other cultures as well too. So I think this is just one example of what we did that, and I think we did that successfully this year.
My mother is African American, my father is Irish American. And it's just my very heart. It's my culture, it's my family, it's what I've dedicated my life to in honoring and celebrating African and African American culture. I think that so many problems and tensions in our society could be healed by simply celebrating culture and having more events like this that help people in the wider community to understand the culture more and to understand the history in a positive setting.
And so today we're closing with the Harambee with celebration with the Cape Cod African Dance Troupe. And so, that's usually how we sort of close the event today, with a little celebration just to commemorate Black History Month.
So where we come together with just happiness and good vibrations, and people can educate themselves and maybe expand their minds and learn a little something that they might not have known before, and share in the culture and feel a sense of belonging and inclusion. We invited folks from the audience to come up and drum, and when it was time to stop the performance, they weren't going anywhere. They just sat there with this energy of like, what's next? And we're not stopping right now. So it's nice to see that.
Thanks to Alan Russell for that coverage. We now move to this episode's calendar segment where we have a number of events to highlight. On Sunday, March 11th, from 11 to 3 at the Coonamessett Inn, the Cape Cod Military Support Foundation will be holding Pot of Gold Sunday, a brunch to benefit the Joint Base Cape Cod Children's Fund. In addition to a variety of food, the brunch will also have an auction and raffle. On Tuesday, March 13th, art historian Susan Pennington will host a caravan bus trip to the Peabody Essex Museum's Georgia O'Keeffe exhibit. The bus departs from the Cape Conservatory at 9 a.m. On Thursday, March 22nd, from 4 to 6, the Falmouth Jewish congregation will host Book Plates, a high tea to benefit 8 Cousins Bookshop's Literacy Project nonprofit. Proceeds help develop libraries for No Place for Hate and the Giving Tree, as well as support the Book Industry Charitable Foundation. Lastly, here at the Mesa Gallery throughout March, we have an exhibition of artwork by East Falmouth Elementary School students. We now move to our local government roundup segment.
Director of Public Works Ray Jack gave a report to the Selectmen regarding the 151 corridor study at the last meeting on Monday night. Mr. Jack reported many things to the board, including data collection from the Cape Cod Commission, traffic speed, and turning movement counts for intersections along the corridor. The report also gave the Selectmen a plan and timeline for the future of this project.
Will culminate in a final report that will evaluate the safety operations and alternatives and/or improvements and result in a conceptual plan. That whole process is going to take about 5 months, so we'll have it by the end of the summer. That'll put us in a position, put the board in a position to consider what those alternatives are, and we can have a discussion about that. If we select any of the design alternatives for one or more of the intersections, then we would be able to proceed with design. And then it becomes a funding issue. And of course, even beyond the design, capital improvements cost money, so this would be a town meeting vote in order to fund it through the capital plan.
The spring 2018 town meeting is scheduled for April 9th. As they do for each town meeting, the Selectmen spend time going through the warrant to vote their recommendations on the articles for the upcoming town meeting.
Next, I'm jumping to Article 23, which would be the Substance Abuse Commission, reduction in membership from 9 to 5.
Yes, I absolutely move that we recommend this. This board has had a really hard time. It's a lot of people to get, and it's a lot of folks to have consistently come to meetings who have a quorum to do things. And, you know, they really are hoping that this, that they're really hoping that this helps them to be more effective. So I move that we recommend it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Assistant Town Manager Peter Johnson-Staub led the Shellfish Management Committee report to the board on Monday night. Mr. Johnson-Staub reviewed with the Selectmen the work done recently on creating a plan and permitting process for rotational aquaculture in Falmouth. Selectman Chairman Susan Moran mentioned to the board that at this stage in the planning it is important to get the shellfish industry participants involved and invited members of the Aquaculture Commission to speak about their position on the matter.
I'm Karen Schwalbe. I'm the current chair of the Falmouth Agricultural Commission, and I think part from our interest as a town resource, both from an aquaculture perspective as well as the needs for wild harvest to be represented at the table, we thought that it was time to get beyond, you know, the smaller purview of the management plan for the oysters and the nitrogen removal and look at the broader perspective that the community needs to have represented at this time. So we've heard from several of the shell fishermen in the region that they would like to see that, and we seem like a good place to start with that conversation.
Yeah. To watch any of these meetings in their entirety, please visit FCTV's website at fctv.org to view the programming schedule. We're going to take another short break to hear from a nonprofit and check out a new short created by FCTV's youth animation class titled The Getaway. When we come back, we'll stop by East Falmouth Elementary School and meet some future entrepreneurs. Stay with us.
Don't just give me the money or I'll be going home with your head.
Don't let me my friend. Go! I'm on the robber's tail.
I think I know how to shake this guy.
Get off of me.
Never. I want to get you, bro.
Oh, you're the best cop in the world.
Get on the ground.
Get down! Got the money?
Money. Oh yes, I have money.
Ah! Get in the car! Now!
Hi, I'm Barb Schneider, president of Falmouth Dog Parks Incorporated, and this is my dog Max. Over the past 6 years, you've probably heard about the Falmouth Dog Park and the important role it plays for people and dogs living in and visiting Falmouth. The park has over 20,000 canine visitors each year and is busy most days. But the park can only be as good as it is and safe and clean as it is thanks to the incredible team of volunteers that manage and maintain the park. A Board of Trustee member or a volunteer steward visits the park each day and checks to see that the park is free of trash, that dog poop is removed, and that the sidewalks are clear of snow and stones. We hope you might consider joining our team of stewards. As a trained steward, you become the eyes and ears for the Board of Trustees, and you help make the park as good as it is. Sign up, and training is simple. Stop to ask one of the stewards to help you contact the board, or call the number on the screen at the end of this PSA or on the newsletters in the holders at the park. Training takes about 10 minutes, and then you are ready to sign up for 1, 2, or 3 days a month by responding to the monthly email you will receive. Each month is flexible, and you can do your 15 minutes of steward work anytime that day or day you have chosen. We are constantly told that we are one of the cleanest dog parks anyone has ever visited. Help keep us in that tradition and keep the goal intact. Please give us a call or become part of the Falmouth Dog Park team. You will be glad you did, and so will thousands of dogs and people who enjoy the park each year. Please call 508-331-2929 to arrange a training. See you at the park.
Welcome back. In an effort to better prepare kids for entering the business world as adults, East Falmouth Elementary School recently hosted a special supplemental class on junior achievement. Here, students were given the task of creating their own hypothetical restaurants, hashing out a budget, and other logistical concerns that come with running a small business, which we'll see in this next piece.
Junior Achievement is a volunteer program where individuals from the business world typically will go into a classroom to teach kids about business, finances, things of that nature. And it's really unique because it has programs for kindergartners up through 12th graders. So the class I was just teaching was 3rd graders, and they learned a little bit about credit cards, about writing checks, about taxes, and about starting a business. So it's just a way to get them kind of thinking about business before they kind of very, very early before they start to enter the work world. They're all based on different kind of areas of the, really focusing on where they live. So this unit that we were learning is about our city. So they were learning really about their cities, and in this instance, a town. I know the 4th grade lesson is our region. 2nd grade is our community. So they're all based on kind of things that they would know and kind of see in their day-to-day just living where they live, and kind of learning a little bit more about how some of those places might work and how money works in a community, how businesses work in a community, because it's the kind of thing that they probably see on a daily basis, but they might not really know exactly how it works. Actually, it's a good balance of individual work, of kind of like looking at kind of lessons and learning different concepts and really kind of taking it into account and doing some individual work, and then a lot of group work as well, so that they get to kind of learn together, because that seems to really be what they gravitate towards, especially at this grade, you know, in a third grade setting. That they're able to kind of work together. And in this last class, they were able to start their own business. So it is kind of nice that they're able to kind of work at their own pace for certain things, but then also learn as a group for other projects.
The most interesting thing actually is that, like, how you can start it and learning how to work good with your friends. You get to, like, choose the business and make a name and make a logo and make a phone number and like choose where it is and all that stuff.
Thanks to Ryan Weber for that story. Here at FCTV, we want you to know that television can be as easy as hitting record on your smartphone. We'd like to invite all Falmouth residents and visitors to share their slice of life with us. Email us your photos and videos or upload them to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using the hashtag MyFalmouth or Falmouth in Focus to be featured on the show. Thank you to our most recent contributors. We leave you now with the sights and sounds of the national anthem at Clipper Hockey's Military Appreciation Night. Thanks for watching Falmouth in Focus. We'll see you next time.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the rampart we watched were so gallantly